It's time for Speed 77 Radio's Motorsports Madness, powered by the staff at Race Chaser Online. Today's racing news, yesterday's racing history, and now here are your hosts, Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda.
Good Monday evening, race fans across the globe, and welcome to another round of Motorsports Madness here on the Performance Motorsports Network. And boy, is it going to be a little bit mad tonight. We got a lot to talk about and a short time to do it in, so we'll get started here on PMN. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside my colleagues from Race Chaser Online, Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, joining me at the round table as we get set to start off with some lively discussion, gentlemen. We do that all the time, but I think this Monday night probably warrants a little bit more fun. Tom Baker, are you buying or selling, sir, as we start this show, that the chase grid not only dropped the ball, they chucked it directly into Kevin Harvick's hands on the court because his road to Homestead is virtually paved now? Are you buying or selling it?
I'm selling it.
Really?
I don't think you can look at it. You know, 2 days ago we were talking about Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch being on the outside looking in. Just because Kevin Harvick goes out, dominates one race, I do not buy that automatically means we're going to see him at Homestead. This format requires that you bring your A game every single week, and if you have one disastrous race, it can put you in a position to be eliminated. Ask Jimmie Johnson, who is no longer in the chase after one round, which nobody would have predicted that, but a $5 part puts Jimmie Johnson outside the top 12, and now he will not be sitting with the top 10 at the banquet. So, you know, this is
hang on. Let's clarify here. That's not a guarantee he won't be sitting with the top 10. It just means he won't be part of the final four. Because remember, you're fighting for fifth in points now.
Yeah, he can still advance. But at the end of the day, he's out of the chase. And my point was, and still is that, you know, there's no guarantees here. I mean, you know, we saw Kevin Harvick's team make some decisions in the first two races that I thought were a little sketchy. And of course, they saved themselves by coming out of the box when they had to and, you know, dominating the race yesterday, but I don't think it's a lock. I mean, certainly you'd have to make him a favorite to defend the title. I think a lot of people would have said that going in, but I'm not buying that this is a given that he's going to go all the way. You know, ask me if he's going all the way when we get to about the beginning of the round of 8, and I'll give you a better answer. But he's just got to keep doing what he did yesterday. Now, with that being said, he's going to have a little bit of a hard time with this as far as winning goes, because, you know, we're going to Charlotte, and Charlotte is a track where I know Kevin's done halfway well there, and he's even won, but you know what? In the spring, it certainly did not look like a Kevin Harvick racetrack. It was very much a Gibbs racetrack. And, you know, I think, again, your usual suspects are going to be all fighting for it there. So I'm not going to anoint Kevin Harvick the king of the chase by any means this year. There's a lot of racing left to do. And, you know, he's got to steer clear of any more misfortune and, you know, keep the car running the way it needs to and keep fuel in it.
This is true. He kept fuel in it. He dominated the race and basically drove away from the field, Kyle Magda. He led 355 of 400 laps. Are you buying or selling that Sunday's performance for Kevin Harvick was the most dominant performance of any Sprint Cup driver we've seen this season? Buy or sell?
Buying it in a heartbeat. And the reason I say that is because, Jacob, I was talking with you over the weekend. I said this a couple weeks ago. I thought the two guys at Chicagoland who got into it, Kevin Harvick and Jimmie Johnson, either one of them would be in victory lane. But Jacob, the way Kevin Harvick drove to the front, took him 24 laps to go from 15th to 1st. And once he got out front, whether it was 2 tires, whether it was 4 tires, he was not going to be denied. I know there was a point in the race where he took too late, and Kyle Busch was behind him on the outside lane with 4 tires. I thought maybe that would be just a little bit more of an advantage, but that wasn't even close. Kevin was gone, and that happened, and Kyle took 2 earlier in the race. So pretty much it was those two guys all afternoon, and but yeah, that was a championship caliber performance on Sunday. I mean, that car just went straight to the front. He led 355 of the final 376 laps. That is outstanding for a guy like that. He was quick in practice, the abbreviated sessions on Saturday. Just when he's driving like a pissed off teenager, doing that at Dover. Every time that Kevin Harvick is in one of these situations, he comes out. And he breaks through. He's in the clutch, and you can read on my recap on Race Chaser Online. He just goes out there and just dominates the race like Phoenix this year. I think that might have been the second most dominant performance of the season. So give it to Rodney Childers and Kevin Harvick to come up in those clutch situations when everything is on the line. Because Kevin Harvick, guys, does not win that race, he is not moving on. So there was a possibility at one point in that race when Kevin Harvick or Jimmy Johnson may not have made it to the next round, but Kevin just blew everybody's doors off, and just so much that happened. And Kevin Harvick's in victory lane, Jacob. That was just a dominant performance, and I think where more of the drama was the last 20 laps in that chase bubble spot. That's where a lot more went, but Kevin Harvick just absolutely unbelievable. He stuck it to him, Jacob.
Now, please keep in mind, this is the 3rd consecutive must-win chase race for Kevin Harvick that he's come through in the clutch for. So he's proven that team has what it takes, and you don't want to back them into a corner, because if you do, they're going to win most likely. Tom, for the situation that Kyle just mentioned, the battle for the final chase spot, Dale Earnhardt Jr. versus Jamie McMurray. Those two end up tied. Their best finish was at Dover, so that was the tiebreaker for the round. Jr. gets the nod with a 3rd to McMurray's 4th. I mean, this battle was unbelievable, and I think what makes it all the more impressive to me is the fact that we have to keep in mind Jamie McMurray got his first opportunity in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, one of his first opportunities in the Xfinity Series as a part of Junior Motorsports. He drove that car for some time in the Xfinity Series around the mid-2000s, 2000, I want to say maybe 2007 or 2008. But, it was great to see those two duking it out. The teammate was up there for McMurray and Larson. Junior kind of made a little contact and got around him. Are you buying or selling Junior's championship chances now that he's made it through to a round that has Talladega in it? And are you buying or selling that if it's not for that last restart, Jamie McMurray advances?
Well, I'm going to not buy or sell the last question, because the last part of the question, because who can predict that? I mean, that Junior was running awfully strong. Jamie was closing, but then it seemed like he kind of stopped closing.
Now remember, Junior did say in his post-race interview that had it not been for the last caution, he thought Jamie was going to drive away from him. So,
well, sure, but again, there's you can't really. We could say that it seemed like Jamie was going to drive away, but I don't want to commit to one way or the other on that. As for the first part of the question, Junior's got a tough road to hoe, I think. I don't think Talladega is a given that he's going to win that. I mean, that's a crapshoot. You could get caught in a wreck and finish 40th as easily as you can win. So I don't necessarily, if I was ranking the top 12 right now, I would have Junior somewhere in the back 4, honestly, because I just haven't seen enough out of him over the last 6 to 8 races to tell me whether or not we're going to get the Junior that we've seen that can run up front and contend for wins, or we're going to get the Junior who's part of a Hendrick stable that's kind of been off a touch compared to some other teams. So right now, if I'm ranking the top 12, I'm putting Junior somewhere, 7th, 8th, in that area. And so I'm not saying he's a lock to get out of this round. I mean, he's going to have to step up and, grab some top 3 or top 4 finishes. It's going to be a tough one for sure.
All right. So, we've established that this was it was a chaotic race, and, the chase grid was mightily shuffled. And at the end of it, Kyle Busch managed to finish second and do what he had to do to advance to the next round. So my next question for you is, are you buying or selling that the 18 team can get on a march now? I mean, we know they marched and won 4 races to just get into the chase with the top 30 in points and all of that, but are you buying them as a serious threat here?
Absolutely, I'm buying it, and I know my word's been absolutely a lot, but there's a lot. They're in the 14. They're still the 2 best right now, I think. They're just on top of their game, and they've been doing everything right. Second, they were 1-2 at Dover, ran up front at Chicagoland, both of them. They've been up there. I mean, I know Kyle had the problem at Loudon, Jacob, and they've been the best. I mean, I know Kevin hasn't had the wins, but so there's a lot going on right now. But I do believe that the 4 and the 18, they are the 2 best teams in the sport right now. They did make it to the second round, and Kevin with the win and then Kyle with the 1 point. So there's just still a lot to go on, and I just want to chime in on Dale Jr. quick. I think the only way he gets in is Talladega. I do not see him winning Kansas or Charlotte. That 88 has been good on restrictor play tracks, Jacob, but right now it's looking like the 4 and the 18 are the 2 best in the garage.
Thank you. I was going to iterate that if you didn't, that Talladega may be the Junior Nation's last chance. We'll continue the chase conversation around the turn and break down a few more of the contenders and pretenders headed to, a race in our backyard at Charlotte on Saturday night. You're listening to Motorsports Madness here on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
You are a waste. A loser. Everyone hates you. Why don't you just stay in your car and keep driving? I'm serious. Drive until you run out of gas, then get out of your car and walk until you find someone who doesn't think you're dumber than bricks. Could take a while, but at least all that walking might burn a couple of calories.
You may not witness bullying like this every day. Your kids do. They want to help, but they don't know how. Visit StopBullying.gov to learn safe, simple ways your child can help stop bullying. Be more than a bystander at StopBullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park. We now return you to 2.5 Men on Speed 77 Radio's Motorsports Madness on the Performance Motorsports Network.
And it surely is madness every Monday night we get together and talk motorsports here on PMN. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda at the round table talking motorsports right now, discussing the chase for the Sprint Cup and all the scenarios that are contained within that, headed to our home race, Tom, this weekend in Charlotte. Before we get to that, I want to talk about two more things from Dover as far as the Cuppers are concerned.
Okay.
Number one, did we really expect anything less than what we got with Kevin Harvick winning and advancing? Be honest here, because I felt like at the end of the day, we've backed them into a corner 3 times now, and every time they've just made it look effortless. I mean, he and Rodney Childers, it's almost like at this point, we expect them to work miracles. I mean, this wasn't surprising to me at all, I felt like.
Well, I saw a couple of tin hat pages on social media today who speculated that it was fixed, and of course Kevin Harvick was going to win. NASCAR made it possible for that to happen, and I don't know if they think that maybe NASCAR let them use jet fuel or whatever the deal, but so I guess according to some, you would expect nothing less. But we got to run the race, guys. And these guys have very little in the way of practice time. They had no qualifying. It's not easy to go out and do this. I don't think it was expected, but I think it was appropriate. And I think while we're showering Kevin Harvick, I think we ought to give Kyle Busch some props too, because he also was on the outside looking in. And those two are the 2 fastest cars all day, though Kevin Harvick was much faster than Kyle Busch. Kyle did what he had to do, and that team's right back in the thick of it too. And so, I mean, really, both of them, I thought, responded in a very tough situation and under very unusual circumstances. Both teams responded the way that you would expect champion teams to respond, and they did what they had to do. So I don't know that I would say, what else would you expect? But I certainly would give props to both the 4 team and the 18 team on their clutch performances on Sunday, because they really needed that.
They really did. And on the flip side of that coin, Tom, somebody who didn't need the lot in life that they were cast on Sunday was the guy that you mentioned a few minutes ago, Jimmie Johnson, who had a rear axle seal break or split, I guess, if you want to be really technical about it, and start leaking rear gear oil all inside the rear end housing, inside the wheel hubs. It was a mess. You could see it starting to shine about 2 laps before Jimmy brought it to pit road on lap 102. Lost 36 laps making repairs in the garage area, came back out, soldiered home, unfortunately finished 41st. And the drive for a 7th title will have to wait yet again. I said on Sunday night that this is a consequence of the system that, while unintended, is something that these guys have to be aware of. The percentage of points now that you lose when you drop, in the mid-30s to low 40s is much, much bigger than it ever was under the old system. It doesn't necessarily reward good finishes anymore, but it really penalizes you for a bad finish. Jimmy got the bad end of the stick on that one, and unfortunately, it throws him from 27 points to the good entering the race to a total of 12 points out at the end of the day. That's a 39-point swing. It's honestly, Tom, a swing that I don't know that any of us expected we were going to see in this chase.
Again, this format tends to do that. There's always one big surprise. It doesn't always come in the first round, but, that was really a disappointing day, obviously, for the 48 team, because, certainly you don't want to bow out at the end of the first round. but it just goes to show you how, as you said, it really penalizes a bad performance. And, you just got to have it all together. I don't think there's anything anyone could have done about a seal splitting apart. But, Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus and that 48 team are very thorough in their preparation, and they're usually very consistent. And he was running, in the top 5. He would have been certainly right up there at the end of the race had that not happened. But, that's why I love this format. I just love the elimination part of it because, it really adds drama to every race. When we go to Charlotte to cover the race this weekend, you're going to be hanging on every lap to see what's going to happen because any of these 12 guys that are left could have something happen at any time. They could get taken out. They could run out of fuel. They could blow a motor, have a part break, whatever happens. Even a spin at the wrong time in the race can mean disaster or a bad pit stop late in the race. So, unfortunately for JJ, just not going to happen for him this year, but he's not going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't believe Chad is either. So certainly they're going to have at least several more opportunities for that 7th and record-tying championship run, but just not going to happen for him this year.
No, it's not. And you referenced that we're going to Charlotte. We're coming there. We're bringing NASCAR here this weekend, which is good for us because it means we don't have to go very far from home.
Not good for me.
Well, anyway, we can't all have what we want. So with that being said, we'll transition to Charlotte here in a little bit. I want to talk about some of the other NASCAR racing that happened over the weekend first before we get there, though, because it was really a fun weekend. We had the Xfinity and the K&N East cars at Dover, and we had the trucks out in Vegas. I want to talk Xfinity first, Tom, because one of your favorite drivers ended up in victory lane for the second time in 8 weeks, and all of a sudden, he's kind of on the outskirts of this championship talk with 5 races to go. I mean, how about the performance at the end of the race? Another guy who stepped up to the plate when he needed to, Regan Smith, flat out drove the Gibbs boys to win that race on Saturday afternoon. You don't just beat Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch in an Xfinity race. It was very impressive, in my opinion.
Well, I think it was so good he even surprised himself. I mean, it's one of those situations where, you think you know what your race car has, but, that last restart, it was almost like he just, hit the push to pass button or something if they had them. I mean, it was unbelievable. He just blew the field away and got out in the lead and took off. And, Regan works very hard for everything he gets. And he's not assured of an opportunity yet for 2016. There is nothing saying that he's going to be back with Junior Motorsports. I think all sides are working hard to make that happen, but there has been no definitive announcement about that. And so Regan, I think, is driving and has been for the last couple months with a little bit of extra urgency because not only is he chasing the championship, which he obviously helped his own cause for that situation on Saturday, but he's also playing for a job for next year. He and wins never hurt. They're good for sponsors and they're good for impressing car owners. So I think that Junior and Regan both agree that they would like to reunite again for 16, but obviously it's a business and you have to make business happen. So I'm glad to see him get the win and really surprised by that last short run there because, as you said, you just don't blow by the Gibbs boys and get the win very often. But Junior Motorsports has really stepped up their game over the last 5-6 races. Chase Elliott's gotten back to victory lane. Regan's won a couple times. And, Regan's on a bit of a run here with strong finishes. He has
9 straight top 10 finishes.
Yeah, and even the lowest of those finishes, for the most part in almost every race, he's been up in the top 5, he just hasn't always finished there. But even to say top 10 finishes doesn't quite, it doesn't quite tell the story of the actual performances. He's been a contender in most of those. So, it's good to see JRM as a team getting better. And, it was good to see Ben Rhodes have a decent run. He kind of got swept up, I think, in a deal at the beginning there. But then once he got settled down, he had a pretty good run with the 88 car, and I'm looking forward to seeing him back in it at Homestead, and I'm hoping he's going to be some sort of a part of the equation too over there again in 2016 also.
Well, we'll see what happens. You talk about the 2016 equation, you got to talk about the guy that Regan Smith passed for the lead and ultimately the win in Saturday's race, that being Elliott Sadler. I say that, Kyle Magda, because he almost won the race when the rains came, but more importantly, he is a part of that 2016 equation at JRM. He's headed over, by all accounts, it looks like, to take over the ride that Chase Elliott will be departing, bringing One Main Financial with him. He has a seat now for the 2016 Xfinity Series, and I'm thinking it may be his final destination because it's about the last powerhouse team that he's not been with in the Xfinity Series.
He's been with Junior Motorsports before, but on a very limited basis back in 2010. But yeah, looked for a little while on Saturday afternoon, and man, it would have put the icing on the cake, making the announcement Friday and then winning the race Saturday. But yeah, you know what, guys? Before I just want to add one last thought: is I did not know he was leading because the Roush Fenway PR people were sitting next to me and they were cheering. I'm like, why are they cheering? And I'm like, oh, Elliott Sadler's leading. So. So yeah, I mean, they took 2 tires, great pit call by them, and just didn't hold up. But a great drive by Regan Smith, Jacob there. Got around Elliott on the a lap or two after the last restart and drove away. And just you could see both of them back in Junior Motorsports next year. So we'll see what happens.
It's not done yet, and we're not done yet talking NASCAR. We still got trucks to hit on and some K&N East action too. So we will do just a little bit of business, and right after this, we'll talk more NASCAR and then get ready to transition into some other facets of the motorsports world. Open wheel, dirt, all that's upcoming here on the Madness, so stay with us. You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time. What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruising tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, Be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network, your source for motorsports. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to Jacob, Tom, and Kyle on Motorsports Madness.
Welcome back here to the Performance Motorsports Network. They call us opinionated. That might be with good reason because we've always got a lot to talk about. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, Kyle Magda here at the round table and talking everything from Dover and beyond over the course of the weekend. Want to talk a little K&N East action because that race was originally supposed to be held Friday evening, Kyle Magda. The rain pushed it to Saturday, and we somehow managed to get all 125 laps in. William Byron does what William Byron needs to do and wins the K&N Pro Series East Championship, becomes the 5th rookie in series history to do that, and 2nd consecutive, I might add. More importantly, though, I think even than Byron's championship may have been the shocker that Rev Racing and Colin Cabry pulled, just flat driving away from the field and winning the Drive Sober 125. I was shell-shocked, quite honestly.
So was I. Did not see that coming. I think Tom and I both picked William Byron to win. Wanted finishing 9th, but he did exactly what he had to do, finish 9th or better, and he's the champ. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that happened in that race. I know we're going to elaborate on a little more on Thursday, and I just want to hit a few key points from that race. Austin Hill. Came off the win at Richmond, came in 14 points behind William Byron, motor let go. Really not a terrible breakdown of the season for him. He's won the last 2 times at Dover. Scott Heckert ran up front early on. He was 13 points behind Byron. Just car didn't handle as well. Actually finished behind William in 10th. So, but yeah, Colin Cabry. I mean, I would not have expected that. He drove right to the front, started 12th. Got to highest 3rd in about the first 25 laps, and then he got around William for 2nd, then got around Rico, and Abreu was leading. So, he just drove away. That car was on rails in the end. I think he won by like 6.5 seconds. So, they found something in that car. 2nd win for them on the season. His other one was at VIR with Sergio Pena. And I just want to say one more thing when we're talking about K&N East. I just want to say it's nice to have Jay Beasley back. He ran the finale. Sergio won the race at VIR. Good to have Jay back. I know it's been I think his last race was Watkins Glen 2 months ago, so it's nice to have Jay back. But there's a lot that happened this season, and we still have two races to go on the west side. That's really close to the championship, and I honestly think it's going to be even more exciting, when we go to Phoenix here in about a month.
I am excited about the K&N West Championship battle. We do have a little bit of time to process before we get to that, a couple of weeks before the next race in Roseville. But we do want to congratulate William Byron and Colin Cabry on the championship and race win, respectively. We are looking to have both of them on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show this Thursday, and definitely excited about that. I was excited about some other happenings out west, since I can use Kyle's K&N West mentionings as a springboard, Tom, to go to Vegas. You know why? We had trucks in Vegas. That's always fun. It is whenever you put the Camping World Truck Series on the racetrack. Matt Kraft in the 1.5 mile Dominator. We thought he was going to walk the dog. Well, he almost did it, except for the fact that he had a Challenger this time. And I was impressed by this because this Challenger not only drove around him in the early stages of the race, he kept Kraft and honest all the way through. And when the 88 couldn't make it on fuel, he had the speed and the track position to capitalize. And I've been waiting 8 years to say this. The fastest chicken in the South won a NASCAR race. John West Townley gets it done in Sin City.
How about it for Clyde Torkel, as Matt Kenseth called it a couple weeks ago? What can you say? It's been a long time coming for John. He's certainly had his ups and downs. I think that's fair to say. And he's won in the ARCA Series, has never won in the Truck Series until now. It was a good win for him, and anybody that's, it's a fuel mileage, big deal. That's, that happens a lot. He was in position to take advantage when Matt Crafton's crew obviously miscalculated, and it gave John West the win, and that was a good run for him. And he was, as you said, he was in contention all day long. It wasn't like, he had some lucky break somewhere along the line that happened to put him in good track position. He was in the top 3, top 5, pretty much that entire race. So it was a great run for that team, and I think they really needed that. They've struggled badly on the Xfinity side this year, that team has, and certainly in the truck series they've run fairly well, but this has got to be a real boost to them to be able to go to a track like Vegas and run as well as they did and end up getting the win. It's certainly with a few races left to go in that series, it's certainly a confidence boost down the stretch, and I think right into 2016. So, I mean, congratulations to that entire team, because that's a very, very big win, and I love seeing those upsets. It's always fun when somebody comes out and does something you don't expect, and an underdog gets a victory. And so happy for John West, but obviously at the same time, Jacob, you're happy for John West Townley. You just have to be heartbroken for Austin Theriault and what happened with him with the injury and such, because it looks like that's going to keep him out for a while, and maybe for the rest of the season, I would say.
Well, he was scheduled to race the final 5 truck races for BKR, and I've done some research. And let's go back and actually talk about this incident for a minute, because it started when his teammate Tyler Reddick, who I believe was running 8th at the time, went high to avoid the lap truck of Akinori Ogata. The truck got loose when he was going around Ogata. He skidded it dirt track style, like Tyler Reddick's known for, all the way through turn 4 to save that truck, and started chasing it down the banking towards the white line on the front straightaway. Theriault tried to shoot the gap, thinking that Reddick wasn't going to come quite as far down as quickly as he did. Unfortunately, Reddick came right into the path of his teammate. The side doors bang, and unfortunately, Reddick's truck, the momentum turns Theriault almost at a 90-degree angle, head on into the outside wall, about 50 feet after where the safer barrier in turn 4 stops. Now, I will reiterate, and Tom, I will let you have the floor with this for a moment, because Kyle Busch was very, very vocal about this on Saturday night. Why, especially after the Daytona crash that Busch was involved in, are we having this discussion right now about a wall that doesn't have a safer barrier? I don't get it.
Well, somebody somewhere along the line made the comment. I put a post on my social media about that, and somebody somewhere made a comment that the drivers didn't want a safer barrier in that particular part of the track for some reason, and I'm not going to make that gospel. That didn't come from an official source.
I do remember seeing that. It was a couple drivers on Twitter that said the reason that they did not want the safer barrier off the exit of turn 4 is because they use up the track right to the wall. They like to slide up the track a little bit and then chase the momentum down the banking coming to the line. My response to that is tough. It needs to be there for safety.
Yeah,
deal with it. Learn how to drive the track a different way.
I was going to say almost the exact phrase. I was going to actually use the phrase tough cookies. I don't care what the drivers want. Sometimes the drivers are their own worst enemies. There should not be any part of any NASCAR national track where a car or a truck could possibly hit anything other than a safer barrier. Period. End of discussion. It's ridiculous that we're even talking about this again. I just can't understand. At this point, the drivers just need to stay out of that conversation and let those who actually know what's best for them make the decisions, because drivers tend to want a lot of things that are, preferences, personal preferences, creature comforts. And I'm not just talking NASCAR drivers. You've got drivers who don't want to wear head and neck restraints because it limits their, movement where they can turn their head and see around, sprint cars or whatever. You've got drivers who don't want to wear, wrist restraints, arm and wrist restraints, or whatever the case is. Drivers tend to be their own worst enemies sometimes when it comes to safety. And I just think it's high time that NASCAR just flat say, don't care what you want, guys. Find another way to drive the track. Here's what we're doing. We're going to keep you safe despite you. And that's despite yourselves, we're going to keep you safe. That's really where you got to be on this. I was very, very shocked that there was actually a part of that racetrack that did not have a safer barrier. That's just ridiculous, and I applaud Kyle Busch for speaking out the way that he did.
Oh, I do too, absolutely. And it's, unfortunately, Austin Theriault suffered a 10% compression fracture of the lower back in that incident. Based on the research I've done, it could take anywhere from 2 to 4 months to make a full recovery, so it'll definitely keep him out of the truck the rest of the season. We hope he should be able to return for Daytona Speed Weeks in February, but obviously our thoughts and prayers with Austin Theriault in his recovery. He looked like he was in good spirits. So, one of those deals where you just kind of take it one step at a time and try to come back. Real quickly, Kyle Magda, I want to shuffle to you because, despite the fact that he was involved in that crash, Tyler Reddick somehow manages to come back, milk the fuel, come home 7th. Matt Crafton runs out of fuel. Eric Jones runs out of fuel. The three of them finish Reddick 7th, Crafton 8th, Jones 9th. Reddick made up points despite his involvement in that crash, and the three in the championship can't get away from each other. This is going to be fun going down to the wire. And we go to Talladega next for the trucks.
Oh, man, that's going to be crazy. But just want to add something quick, Jacob. I know I said this. I've said this in the past. And I said this over the weekend about the Austin's injury. Quick, Denny Hamlin had the same injury in 2013 at Auto Club, so I'm kind of basing it off that a little bit. But yeah, I mean it's close right now. Yeah, there's just so much to do for that. And yeah, I mean I don't know what happened. Maybe you guys can help me out. I think the 88 there was something about trying to cause a caution or something possibly. About what I don't know the whole story, Jacob. Maybe you know better than I did because the minute I got back to my hotel, it was pretty much the 88 and the 05, pretty much battling for the win. But I think Matt Crafton might have thrown a piece of roll pad or roll bar out his window or something, trying to.
Try a water bottle, and Junior Joyner got called to the hauler for that stunt afterwards.
Yeah, I forget. I didn't. That's what I was thinking, So yeah, hey, you gotta. Yeah, I guess you gotta try, until you get caught. So I don't know.
What are they? I mean, we've got 8 million cameras around these tracks now. What are they thinking? I mean,
they caught him on the onboard, Tom.
Well, okay. Well, that too. You've got him in the truck. I mean, that would come straight out of the file. Like Matt, what
Gordon did that one time.
But that was back before we had all these, eyes in the sky and around everywhere. At this point, it's the Dr. Phil thing. What were you thinking? I just don't get it. That was, but it made for a little bit of entertainment, and at least you can't blame NASCAR this time for that debris situation.
Well, no, and the best thing about it is it didn't even bring out a caution, so Matt still ended up running out of fuel. But with that being said, all things considered, we got to take a break. We'll be back with more madness. We're going to shift gears and go to open wheel when we come back, talk a little F1, and continue down the road. Here it's Motorsports Madness on the Performance Motorsports Network.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
This is Paul Stanley from KISS for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Some of us work months producing a CD, but in less time than it takes to play it, someone will be killed in an alcohol-related crash. So please don't drive when you've been drinking. Plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22 Discount Tire Car. You know something? You and I aren't all that different. I drive a car, you drive a car. My car has tires, your car has tires. I may be going just a little faster than you each weekend, but we both need to keep those tires properly inflated to stay safe. So be tire smart and do your part. Check your tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
Visit BeTiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
Time to get back to tonight's Motorsports Madness. Here are the only three of a kind that beats a full house. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, and Kyle Magda.
Now, let's just clarify, Tom does play poker, but that doesn't mean we're just going to break out into a game in the middle of the show. Although, Tom, that would be entertaining for the three of us here at the round table.
Yes, it would be fun, but see, we can't encourage gambling because it's a family show. Of course, they can't see us, so.
Anyway, welcome back to Motorsports Madness. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, Kyle Magda here at the round table talking motorsports. In this particular segment, Formula One, because overshadowed, I think, in all of the Stewart-Haas press conferencing this week that involved Tony Stewart retiring, Tom, we had another SHR press conference take place, I believe it was on Monday afternoon, that was big for the Haas Formula One team going into 2016. Roman Grosjean is going to be moving over from Lotus to take over the lead seat at Haas Ferrari for 2016, which I'm excited about. Joel, though he's not here tonight, is very excited about that because he believes in Roman's talent. And for Gene Haas, he got himself a professional driver that I think is going to make that team very competitive very quickly. There's a lot of people that don't believe me, but I think they can do it.
Well, I think they can do it, but I'm going to keep my expectations very low coming out of the box. Not out of so much a lack of faith, but let's face facts here. I mean, building a Formula One team and running it from the United States is an undertaking of massive proportions. And certainly Grosjean is a driver who I think has the necessary skill set and the necessary knowledge and experience to help that team get off to a good start. But at the same time, I think we need to remember that, this is going to be a new team and, that they're tied to Ferrari. But I mean, I think I would be happy to see them just get out of the box, in a manner that allows them to go out and actually complete all the laps in the first 4 or 5 races of the season, and just get themselves the necessary time on the courses to get the cars where they need them to be. I'm not expecting anything at all along the lines of podium finishes or anything close to that, but I would be really happy to see this team just get off to a good start, good clean start, and complete the races, because that's the easiest way that they're going to be able to build the data and such that they need to be able to go forward with.
Well, I do agree with that. And, speaking of that Haas press conference, we mentioned it on Thursday. I want to bring it up here and have a little discussion about it, because I still believe in this, and my column for Race Chaser Online this week is going to reflect that. Tom, last week you were talking about some races, individual races, mind you, that you wanted to see Tony Stewart tackle after his retirement at the end of 2016, rather.
Yes.
I've got a series, and Tony alluded to it during his retirement announcement on Wednesday. He turned around with a very straight face, looked at Gene Haas and said, I have an announcement, by the way, one more announcement. I'm going to, Gene needs a rookie driver. He's got his professional driver, but he needs a rookie driver, and I'm going to be that driver in 2017. And he looked at Gene and said, I apologize right now. I'm going to tear up some of your stuff, but I'm ready to go and give it a shot. Now, this is a driver who swapped cars with Lewis Hamilton at Watkins Glen in 2008 and declared after he was done that it was the most fun he had ever had in auto racing, period, bar none. Tom Baker, I don't know if he was joking or not, but knowing Tony Stewart, you can never rule out the possibility that he was serious. And I, for one, if he decided to make that kind of a jump, even if he only did F1 for a year in 2017, oh, how much fun would that be?
Well, I think people have to understand Tony's personality and his humor. Number one, he would have to give up soda cookies. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to give up Whoppers. You got to give up soda cookies. You gotta go on the Subway diet that Carl Edwards is on, and you can still have more meat, like Tony professed in his commercial, part of the commercial when he had the Subway sponsorship. You just I don't look. I would love to see Tony in an F1 car, because he would actually turn that series just with his personality and the way that he carries himself and his sense of humor. He would turn that series upside down. I mean, the cuckoo clock that runs the series wouldn't have any idea what to do with Tony Stewart. I would love to see him in a car, but let's look at this here. He's not young anymore, and he's not in shape. He'd have to commit to a lot of work, a lot of testing, a lot of effort here. This isn't just a situation where you stick him in a car and take him to a race, and here you go, Tony, like you're putting somebody in your backup car at La Crosse, Wisconsin or something. I don't see him, honestly. I think Tony's looking to do short track stuff. I don't see him committing to a full season of Formula One. Could we see him do some testing? Absolutely. If he goes and tests and for whatever reason, shows a lot of speed, like competitive speed, maybe. But I can't imagine Tony getting out of NASCAR and committing to another national, or in this case, international series. And, I think he wants to go play on short track. So I don't know. I don't read anything into Tony's straight face, because Tony's a good poker player too. And you can't tell half the time when he's serious or not. So I'm not buying that. I just can't see that happening. But boy, would I love to see it happen, because F1 needs some Tony Stewarts, because most of those Europeans are as stiff as a board.
Oh, don't let Joel hear you say that too loudly. If he's listening,
Well, it's
Joel,
the
we love
truth.
you.
There's no connection with their fans whatsoever. They don't do anything to interact. There's very little personality in a lot of those guys. You know, a Tony Stewart or a Kurt Busch or Kyle Busch, somebody like that would just totally turn that whole series upside down, and it would be a blast to watch.
It really would be. Kyle Magda, one more thing that we got going on in the F1 world, and it's something that's been widely rumored and speculated about, and hey, everybody's rumors were wrong. Jenson Button is coming back to McLaren in 2016. After all, everything ranging from, he's just going to go home and spend some time on his yacht, to he's going to become the new host of Top Gear. He's back in the F1 car for one more hurrah. I like it personally. I think Jenson needs to go out with some class, and I was glad to see Ron Dennis finally stop procrastinating and just get it done.
Yeah, Tom beat me to the soda cookie, so I can't use that now. But just going on that, yeah, absolutely, Tom. And,
he's too damn fat to climb fences. That was his statement years ago. For goodness sake, I don't even know if he'd fit in an F1 car anymore.
Yeah, I don't know either. But for Jenson, I mean, he has 1 in 3 years. I mean, maybe this will give him a little more of a spark. You know, knowing that he'll be back next year, maybe he can go out there, Jacob, and try to get some of that success back. He won the 2009 world title in that car. So there's just so much right now for Jenson Button. You know, he's not going to be on Top Gear, and he'll be back in F1 next year, and it's good to have him back. You know, I mean, we were just, it's kind of like the same thing, with Jeff Gordon, with Tony Stewart, how long they're going to be here, how long they're going to be in the sport. Now we both know what they're doing, and Jenson will be back in F1. So, good move. I'm just interested to see how he'll do next year. I mean, I don't pay as much attention to F1 like Joel does, but just to have a household name like Jenson Button out there every single week, it'll be interesting to see how he'll perform in 2016.
Well, I already know this. McLaren Honda can go nowhere but up because they can't possibly have a season that's been any worse than the season that they've had this year. And I've said that to Joel on more than one occasion. I stand by that statement, and I guarantee you he'll argue with me on it when we get him back on here next Monday for Open Wheel Central. Right now, around the turn, we're going to talk dirt. Steve Ovens going to dish on the National Open, and get ready for Super Dirt Week. He's all excited about the final Super Dirt Week in Syracuse because it's going to be a party like no other. And that party spills over to Motorsports Madness in a moment. You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
So
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our communities safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem. I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, the kids. It's time to get dirty on Speed 77 Radio's Motorsports Madness. Here are your hosts, Jacob, Tom, and Kyle, with Turn 5 Live's curator of Casa de Pork Chop, Stephen Oven.
I think we can hereby change that for the next week from Casa de Pork Chop to Casa de Dirt Week, because we welcome you back to Motorsports Madness and we welcome in Steve-O. And Steve-O is about to be, for the next 6 days, on point in Syracuse, New York, at the New York State Fairgrounds for the finale in the fairgrounds, the final Napa Auto Parts Super Dirt Week at Syracuse. Steve-O, Casa de Dirt Week. I like the ring to that I just came up with, and it's going to be a party like none we have ever seen.
Oh, you got that right, Jacob. 6 days of just love of dirt track racing. It's an atmosphere like no other. Matter of fact, you guys caught me tonight. I'm already headed to Dirt Week. I've got a open trailer with my hometown is less a few couches and chairs, and we're going to have the campfire all set up on the backstretch come Wednesday morning.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Before we talk about Super Dirt Week, let's wrap up the weekend that was, because there were two subjects that we had a lot of this weekend, and I'll hit on the first one because it should be relatively quick, Steve. I have these words to utter about most of the racing weekend. Much rain. Much, much rain.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, and the thing is, we saw it coming all week long. We knew that Mother Nature was, if it wasn't due to Hurricane Joaquin, it was, going to be, the after effects or even the pre-effect of that is, the rain that was going to hit the area. It went right up the seaboard, and it did not miss Williams Grove Speedway one bit. Canceled out Thursday night's event, canceled out Friday, and ended up canceling Saturday as well, and they had to move the race over to Sunday. And for some race fans, and it looked like a lot of them stuck around for it. They stuck around until Sunday to see the National Open. And I'll tell you, for those that stuck around, they were treated to a fantastic race. Stevie Smith comes home with a win, beats out Donnie Schatz, and when it came to the $50,000 National Open, it came down to two drivers, Jacob, that we talked about on the show last week. And to our surprise, when it came down to it, it was not Donnie Schatz in victory lane.
Who would have thought that? Oh, wait, you were gloating about it Sunday night because you said, Steve-O, if anybody was going to beat Donnie Schatz, it was going to be the Fred Raymer-owned 51S with Stevie Smith behind the wheel. Third National Open victory, but his first in 24 years. I was stunned by that stat, personally.
Yeah, and he came close to it here not too long ago.
A year ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was sure it was 1 or 2 years, but yeah, I mean, it was last year that he almost pulled it off. And so I just felt like the combination of Stevie Smith, Fred Raymer, Williams Grove in the National Open, he had experience winning that race before. He knows what it takes. I just felt like that was a combination that was going to be hard to bet against. I mean, certainly You can never look past Schatz anywhere you go. But I'll tell you, that combination is really something special. It was sad to see Fred step out of the car when he did, although it was an amazing getting his win in the National Open, just an incredible victory to cap off his illustrious career on. But I tell you, for him as a promoter and a car owner, what a year for those guys. Both of his boys have got wins now, and now Stevie Smith wins the National Open. I'll tell you, between the race wins and all the great promotions that Freddie put together, what a year for those guys.
Oh, I know. And Raymer won the National Open himself in 2013, I believe, in that car. So he's won 2 of the last 3 as a car owner, which is even better. You know, that was the first $50,000 win that Stevie Smith has ever had. So it was a whole lot of fun. And for Schatzy, he was not too far away, Steve. He finished second, and more importantly, that second-place finish clinched Donnie Schatz his 7th World of Outlaws championship. That is second only to his former teammate and sometimes still teammate, the King, Steve Kinser.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's pretty impressive when you can look at the first weekend of October and you've already locked up the track, the series championship. That is really something incredible. And I'll tell you, it's been a great year for those guys. And, they've still got more chances to win. We talked about that last week as well. I'll tell you, the 35 number, he's really going to have to turn it on here with these last few races coming up, but it's still doable for sure.
It is still doable, and it's going to be fun to watch, I think, coming down to the wire, some of these other battles that we've got going on, Steve. I think the battle for, I think it was, 4th through 6th in points is still a major toss-up right now, just because Schatzy's iced the title with about a 500-point lead. It's been impressive, but those other positions have not been settled. Guys like Joey Saldana, Brad Sweet, guys in there, they've still got to fight for every position they can get.
Oh, no doubt, and they will, and they'll do just exactly that. And I would not be surprised if you saw one of those names in victory lane as they get ready to head off to Rolling Wheels coming up this Saturday as part of Super Dirt Week. I would not be surprised. I mean, Brad Sweet, he just seems to be a guy that can turn it on and show you that young talent. And Sweet's an interesting guy. I mean, that's a guy that's had some experience up into the NASCAR ranks and now is comfortably in a ride in the World of Outlaws. I'd be interested to see if this is something that is going to, continue long term for Brad, or if his aspirations are still a little bit higher yet. But I'll tell you, that's a guy I'll be watching for at Rolling Wheels for sure.
Oh, I really will be. Donnie Schatz is going to be big. We know how good he is at Rolling Wheels during the Super Dirt Week main event, Steve. You got to ink him as the favorite, but every once in a while you see some ringers, I guess you'd call them, or, non-regulars come out to play. Not sure that we're going to get Stuart Friesen, maybe. We don't know. That's a possibility. I mean, who are you looking at for the Outlaws portion of Super Dirt Week? I know we're going to transition into the modifieds and the big show as far as Napa Super Dirt Week's concerned here in a minute, but who do you like for the Outlaws show at Rolling Wheels?
Well, I can give you a little bit of news on Stuart Friesen. I checked with Brett Deo, the promoter of the Short Track Super Series, and the championship event is coming up Saturday night, which is the same night as Rolling Wheels. And that being a championship event, it carries championship points. And 150 points will go to the winner. And being that Friesen only has about a 120-point lead over Danny Johnson in second place, Friesen has to go to I-88 to close that championship out. To risk that, to go to Rolling Wheels, that's a $15,000 risk. And, I don't think that's one that Friesen and his team wants to take. So they're going to go to I-88. They're going to take care of business. It would take an absolute disaster for them not to close that championship out. When you talk about close point battles, second through fifth there in the Short Track Super Series, that's pretty close too. But sprint cars at Rolling Wheels, you got to ink Donnie as a favorite. But a guy who I believe has actually won at Rolling Wheels in the past and not too long ago, Paul McMahon. There's a name to keep your eye on this weekend. He's got a win at Rolling Wheels in the past. David Gravel always runs well at Rolling Wheels, and he might even have a Rolling Wheels win to his credit as well. I know those two younger guys in the sport have had their success on the fast 5/8 mile, and if you're looking for guys other than Donnie, maybe look that way here coming up Saturday night.
I like that thought, actually, and McMahon's an interesting pick, especially when you consider that he's had a teammate to work on and lean off of this season in, a guy like Sammy Swindell, who has always been really good in some of these big-time races. And I've not seen anything official yet, Steve, but I would have to imagine, and maybe you know something I don't, that there's at least a shot that we might see Sammy come out and play at this Super Dirt Week feature coming up on Saturday.
It would not surprise me at all. I have not read up on Sammy's plans this weekend, but again, that would not surprise me at all. And I'll be honest, I do think that there could be some drivers, say maybe even a Greg Hodnett that came up to Weedsport last time, guys that, hey, let's go up and run Rolling Wheels, and then, hey, on Sunday we've got the day off. Let's run over to Super Dirt Week and take in the last race at the Moody Mile. I fully expect that you're going to see about a handful of drivers that you might not expect being at a World Outlaws event that are going to try and, take in the double dip, one as a driver, one as a spectator.
By the way, I was looking for some numbers, Steve, here a minute ago. Paul McMahon won the this was back during the time when we held 2 features a year at Rolling Wheels Raceway Park. Paul McMahon won there in May of 2012. Donnie Schatz has won the last 2 Super Dirt Week features and is a 5-time winner there overall. So again, he's good everywhere on the tour, but I don't want to ink him just yet. We'll have to wait and see. Steve-O, hang on with us. I want to talk around the turn USAC, and then, of course, the small block and big block modifieds for Super Dirt Week. So we'll talk more with you here after this break. You're listening to Motorsports Madness here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eric Darnell.
This is David Reagan.
Jamie McMurray. This is Carl Edwards here for RAD,
the entertainment industry's voice for road safety.
Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible.
Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
Hi, this is Spencer Davis, driver of the 79 Coors Light 21 meets 21 Pontiac into NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour. Now back to Speed 77 Radio's Motorsports Madness on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the madness. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker around the round table with our Dr. Dirt, Steve Ovens, getting ready for the biggest party in dirt motorsports for Napa Super Dirt Week 44. Steve-O, we were talking sprint cars before the break. I want to shift gears and bring up one of my favorite classes as far as the Super Dirt Week features are concerned. And, you know, USAC Silver Crown, in my opinion, is always one of the most underrated and one of my personal favorite events of Super Dirt Week because it's a harken back to the old days of dirt racing. Cody Swanson has been dominant in the Salt City 78 the last couple of years, but, you know, just to see the old champ cars around the dirt mile at Syracuse, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And, you know, it's one of those novelty races. Even if you don't know all the players, don't know all the faces, it's fun because it brings you back and celebrates the history of dirt motorsports at the Syracuse Mile.
It is, and I'll tell you, I think the unfortunate thing this year with the USAC race in particular is I don't think there's been too much attention that's been paid to that race because it's the finale at the fairgrounds, and when you think of Dirt Week, you know, your first thought is the modified. So I feel bad this year for some of the USAC guys because I don't know that they're getting necessarily the attention that they deserve because to see those cars on this track is special. It's history. I mean, last week we even got New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to admit that this event is rich in motorsports history, and USAC is a very big part of that. You know, last year, another headline you had was Friesen stepping into a car. Now, he doesn't have plans for that this year, but I'll tell you that those guys around that track, I mean, that's as close to, you know, back even in the days when the World of Outlaws ran events there as well. It is special to see these open-wheel cars out there. You know, and to be honest with you, Jacob, it is a handful to get those cars wrestled around the Moody Mile because there's so much power behind those cars that you've really got to get them woed down into those tricky corners. You know, the famous line from Super Dirt Week announcer Joe Murata is that tricky number 3 corner. Let me tell you, those guys aren't going to be going in there 2 and 3 wide into turn 3. That is for sure.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch, you know, the Swansons, Chris Windham, guys like that, Jerry Coons. I saw Christopher Bell jump in a Silver Crown car. Not sure if he's going to be doing that this go-round, but, you know, you talk about those names as always being some of the favorites in that event. But, of course, the big spectacle for this year's Super Dirt Week, as it is every year, the modifieds. We get the small block feature, the Salute to the Troops event on Saturday before the Syracuse 200, the big race on Sunday for the Super Dirt Car Series Big Block Modifieds. I'll let you tackle this however you want because you've gotten to take in so many of these events. You know, we always talk about the names that we know, the Brett Hearns, the Matt Shepherds, the Stuart Friesens of the world, but this year's Super Dirt Week is special. It's going to be fun because everybody, no matter who you are in the field, wants that final trophy from the mile.
Absolutely. And, you know, you always talk, you know, it seems like there's always a handful of names And I've kind of broken it down in a couple different ways this year. I kind of look at it two ways. I look at, there's three groups. There's guys that have won this race that you always can count on being in the running at the end. You've got a middle group of guys that are very strong competitors that have never won at the Moody Mile. Then you've got the young guns, the guys that might be making their first try at the Moody Mile. And I'll start with the first group, and the guy I'm looking at right now, Jacob, is on fire heading into Super Dirt Week. Billy Decker, in the Gypsum Wholesalers 91 car, picked up a big win at Fonda here just a couple of weeks ago, backed it up with a win in the Outlaw 200 on Saturday at Fulton. And I'm paraphrasing Decker here, but he said after Fonda, he goes, "You saw how good we were here? Wait till we get to the Moody Mile." I really believe this is going to be Billy Decker's year. He hasn't won it since 2005. It's been 10 years. What a way it would be to cap it off for Decker coming up Sunday in the Syracuse 200.
Oh, I think that would be a story. Billy Decker, of course, won the Super Dirt Car Series championship last year, Steve. And I don't know that he's necessarily in title contention this year, but what a way to cap off a season. If you can win the Syracuse 200, we talk about it every year. It's almost like winning a championship. That's how important this race is. Brett Hearns won it 6 times. The Ruderman won it the first 2 races. Buzzy, yeah, thank you, Tom. I mean, the greats of this sport have won this race, and like I said a minute ago, it's equal to a championship title because of how tough it is to win.
Oh, it is, and I remember back to the year that Matt Shepard won his first Syracuse 200. He won the battle that day, winning the 200, but he ended up losing the points championship, the Super Dirt Car Series title, to Brett Hearn that year. And the quote is just as historic from Shepard. Yeah, we may not have got the series title, but we won Syracuse. I mean, you can't say it any better than that. When you can win the crown jewel for these guys, that is just as much as a series championship. And when it pays $50,000 to win, I would argue that, hey, it's even a better payday than winning the series.
Yeah, it's pretty darn close. I'll give you that much. And I've got to ask you, if you had to go away from the favorites, away from the names we all know, and you had to pick an underdog contender that if everything goes their way, maybe they steal a victory out of it, who are you looking at maybe to jump up and grab this Syracuse 200 by the teeth this year and maybe take one home for the first time, or maybe a return winner that hasn't won it in a long time? I know you mentioned Decker, but, anybody else you looking at?
Here's a name, and for all the Dirt Modified fans listening tonight, grab a chair and sit down. My dark horse pick for the Syracuse 200, the finale at the fairgrounds, you heard it here first, Ryan Godown in the 747. Here's a driver.
Wow.
Here's a driver. Yeah. Here's a driver that every year, and I apologize for not having the numbers back it up here tonight, but I'll put it out when we're out here at Super Dirt Week. But Ryan Godown is a guy who always seems to be there at the end when guys that gambled on fuel start running out of fuel. He did it in the last 3 years. He's done it twice to come home with a top 5 finish. Now, being that it's the finale at Syracuse, guys, I really feel that strategy is going to be so far outside of the box in the last 50 laps for guys that just want to win at Syracuse before we shut the place down and tear it apart. Ryan Godown's a guy that if it comes down to a fuel mileage, guys, we're going to stretch it, back off halfway down the straightaways to save us as much as you can. Put it down. Ryan Godown in the 747.
Well, you know what? It certainly is fun to think about. He had a third place finish back in 2013 behind Billy Dunn and Larry White. You have to think that this is a driver with a shot at this. I mean, but there are so many. I mean, you know, you look over the course, and I was looking after Jacob started talking about some of the winners of this event. I did some quick research here. Brett Hearn's got 6. Gary Ballou has 4. He owned this race for a while in the late 70s. He won in 76, 77, 78, and, of course, the big win in 1980 with the Batmobile. Billy Decker's got 4. Alan Johnson's got 3. Stuart Friesen's got 3. Buzzy Ruderman, 2. Marvelous Merv Treichler, 2, back-to-back in 81 and 82. Jack Johnson, Jimmy Horton, Danny Johnson, the doctor, all with 2 wins apiece, and Vic Coffey with 2 wins. You know, just some of the all-time greats. And then you look at some of the guys that are current racers, and you look at a Matt Shepard. It's hard to believe this, but Matt Shepard has won just 1 time at the fairgrounds of the 200, 2009. I've got to believe that Shepard's hungry, and of course Billy Dunn, that big surprise win in 2013. There's another team that knows how to get it done. That win was not a fluke. And Jimmy Phelps, another driver that I feel like is almost owed a win, Steve, at this event.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You know, he's been second, but he's never won it. Tim McCready, second, but he's never won it. I mean, you know, so many guys that have factored into these races at the end, but haven't been able to get it done. I mean, this is the Daytona 500 for this this type of racing. So, I mean, that's why it gets national television exposure, and it's going to be so much fun to watch this finale because you know everybody's going to be trying even extra hard because it's the last one at the fair.
It is, Tom, and I'm going to give you 2 names that you mentioned at the towards the top of that win list that are paired up this year. Gary Ballou, you talked about Gary Ballou owning the Moody Mile for quite some time. And he was the guy that transformed dirt modified racing into what it is today with the body styles and the new technology. But Gary Ballou is building cars for the Halmar International team. And one of their drivers that they're bringing in for this race alone, Alan Johnson. Now,
wow.
Alan has been around for a long time on the dirt circuit. But I just believe if you get a guy that's won this race 3 times, and you pair him up with Gary Ballou that owns the Moody Mile, and you put them in fresh chassis, fresh tires, fresh motor, those are going to be guys that you can't look past.
Well, that's true. That's very, very true, Jake. You can't look past those guys. I mean, Ballou is just an iconic name for what he's done at this event. And, you know, I really honestly, Jake, think that could be a very surprising performance out of that group. Alan Johnson knows what he's doing. Ballou knows what he's doing. And they're going to have the right people around him and the right equipment to get it done.
I really do agree with that. That's a scary twosome right there. And we're going to talk more about the Super Dirt Week and preview it with Steve-O. Tom's going to be on there. But Turn 5 live this Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Steve-O, I know you're going to have more from up there in Syracuse. It's great having you on the Madness as always. And a week from tonight, hey, we get to talk about the final winners in Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it, guys. Tomorrow night, our media roundtable for Turn 5 Live as our Super Dirt Week preview. Looking forward to that, and thanks for all the time tonight talking dirt.
We'll take a break, come back, go to the Straight Liners NHRA discussion. After this, you're listening to Motorsports Madness on the Performance Motorsports Network.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more, but the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, this is Ben Rhodes, driver of the number 41 Alpha Energy Solution Chevrolet in the NASCAR K&N Pro Series East. Now back to Speed 77 Radio's Motorsports Madness on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
We're back here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, still huddling around this round table. And, Tom, we get to talk a little straight liner action now. NHRA was in action over the weekend for round 3 of 6 as far as the countdown to the championship is concerned. That's always fun. And boy, oh boy, it is hard to be perfect. Kevin Harvick's been close, but even he, Tom, has nothing on the driver that I want to hit on first in this segment. Driving a pink, yes, pink, Matco Tools dragster. Let us give some props to Mr. Antron Brown, who picked up his 7th win of the season in Top Fuel, 54th of his career, but more importantly, 3rd consecutive in the countdown. For anybody that may not know how NHRA works, you've got to go through 4 elimination rounds to win the race. That means, Tom, Antron Brown versus his round opponents in the countdown is 12-0. That's perfect, by the way.
Yeah, that is perfect. 12-0 is indeed perfect. This is getting to be a nasty little habit, isn't it? That we come on here on Monday nights and talk about Antron Brown. We talk about all the time about momentum and drivers getting into a groove. And you say, well, how does that happen in drag racing? Because there are so many variables that we don't have in the open wheel side of things, and it's just a short blast, down the course. But Antron has just been on a momentum run, and it's almost like you just can't be stopped at this point. I was really amazed to see that he actually won again, and I was even more amazed to see that Jack Beckman actually broke Del Worsham's streak. And again, I think these straight line countdown races are going to be amazing as we get closer and closer to the end, because everybody just pushes a little bit harder. And I'm wondering literally how fast we're gonna see some of these guys go at some of these venues before it's over.
Well, they were going fast on Sunday afternoon at in Reading, Pennsylvania, the Maple Grove Raceway. We saw the quickest funny car final round in history. A couple of years ago, we wouldn't have dreamed, Tom, a funny car would go 3.9 seconds. Now on Sunday, we're talking about a 3.903 second run by Chad Head, losing to Fast Jack Beckman, who also reset the national elapsed time record, 3.897. You can't blink or you'll miss it. Beckman now within 20 points of the funny car lead. You said he stopped the hot streak. Oh, did he ever, in spectacular fashion.
Well, and I say this all the time. I mean, I've been to NHRA races. In my mind, I can't put myself in anything that gets that far in under 4 seconds. I just can't fathom that. I can't get my head around that. It's really amazing what these drivers have been able to do just in the last few weeks with some of these speeds. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know where the technology leap has been or what the reasoning behind it is, but goodness gracious, all I can say is these people are very brave.
They are brave. Beckman, again, made
nuts.
up well, Jack Beckman's also said that, too. He made up more than 100 points over the course of this weekend, so he's right back in the title hunt. Del Worsham knows it. Everybody's nervous now. Pro stock, the other pro classes, the non-nitro classes, if you will, that was a weird race. Erica Enders, we're used to seeing her go to final rounds. She had been to 3 in a row going back to the final of the regular season in Indianapolis. She goes down in round number 2, and Chris McGahee wins his 3rd race of the season. Erica still the points leader, but it closes to about 78 points. Greg Anderson, the old wily veteran who's come back from heart surgery at the beginning of last season, Tom, he's still in this mix in pro stock for KB Racing, those Summit Racing equipment cars.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I think, quite honestly, when you look at, I was really surprised that Erica Enders lost again. And she's been good, very good lately, and was surprised to see her actually go out in round 2. And I'm hoping that she can rebound with some wins here as we go down the stretch. But, also, as you mentioned, very impressed with McGahee getting his 3rd win of the season. Again, it seems like every week we're talking about different people stepping up in some of these classes, and it just makes it so much fun to see who's going to be on top. I'm really hoping we get a Force win before the end of the year, just because.
Yes, please. Just because.
Just because. But boy, these guys are just, to me, they're just amazing. If you want to call them athletes, or daredevils is probably more the
both.
But, yeah. The more I watch of the NHRA, and I've been watching it for a while, and the more I see it in person, just the more amazing it gets when you become more aware of actually what the drivers go through physically in one of these passes. Especially in the fastest divisions, your funny car and top fuel, etc. It's just really amazing, and I just love to talk about it and to watch it and to give these guys and girls props, because they're doing something I surely don't have the courage, and I doubt very much the skill set to do. But even if I thought I would be good at it, I don't have the courage to do it. So it's pretty amazing to watch this, really.
Yeah, it really is. And another amazing numbers. We were talking about numbers all weekend. The final class in the pro level of NHRA, the Pro Stock motorcycles, the bikes. Andrew Hines gets his second countdown win in 3 races aboard that Harley-Davidson. And this was the big number of the weekend for Andrew. He ties the legendary Angel Sampey for second all-time in Pro Stock motorcycle wins, picked up his 41st career victory on Sunday. His first win, oddly, Tom, this season that was not at ZMAX Dragway here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
He's got 3 wins this season, but that was his first one outside of Charlotte.
Yeah, he definitely has been successful in NASCAR country this year for sure. It's I don't know what it was about Charlotte that he didn't seem to be able to get it done at the other venues, but man, Andrew Hines definitely. I mean, when you think about 41 wins, that's a lot of wins, and it's great to see that he finally got his second win of this countdown and finally won somewhere besides Charlotte, and we'll have to see if he can keep that momentum up. Well, I guess we could still say they were all on the East Coast anyway.
Truth. Yeah, you can. And, I just think it's so telling about his career that we're talking about it now in parallel with Angel, because she did so much for the sport of drag racing and really broke so many barriers. To see a young guy like Andrew come even with that, really, I think it was a special day, not just for Harley-Davidson as a manufacturer, but for Andrew personally, because he circled Angel as really one of his fiercest early career competitors and one that he wasn't sure at the beginning of his career he would ever match.
Yeah, and again, we just keep talking about records. Just to even fathom that some of these people have been around long enough to have that many wins and have those kinds of records, and to be trying to even break some of these records. It's just amazing, and I, to be very honest with you, Jake, I'm a little surprised that we actually got all of that in this weekend, given the amount of rain and wind and everything else that we had on the East Coast. So I am really, really happy that NHRA was able to get that race in, because I know even on Sunday morning, I mean, there was no guarantee. I had a friend of mine who was there at the race, and they were still trying to mess with raindrops on Sunday morning, so there was no guarantee that was even going to happen.
No, there wasn't. Kind of like the same situation we had at Dover, but we got all racing in all major classes up there in the northeast of the United States in this weekend. It was a lot of fun, and definitely fun to recount here on the Madness. We're going to do our final bit of business, and around the turn, we're going to get out our crystal balls, and we're going to come back, and since NASCAR's coming to us, we're going to try to pick who's going to win. That's after this, here on Motorsports Madness. You're listening to the program here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and a specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year, 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network. You're listening to Speed 77 Radio on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to Jacob, Tom, and Kyle on Motorsports Madness.
We're back. I know that's a scary thought for some, but for us, it means it's time for the White Flag segment here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Jacob Seelman, Tom Baker, still around the campfire or the round table, depending on what you want to use. And Kyle Magda was with us earlier, but now, Tom, it's down to you and I, sir. And what that means is, well, we get to kind of go head-to-head here for this week's version of Performance Picks. And I'm even going to defer in this particular case, because I had Kevin Harvick on Sunday, and Kevin Harvick, as Dustin Long so eloquently put it last night, pretty much waxed their asses. So I'm willing to give up priority here in this case, because we come to Charlotte, we've got an Xfinity race and a Cup race. That's it.
That's it. So we're not going to pick the modified race. We're just going to pick
What? No, wait, no. There's no modified race. Don't confuse me.
Oh, okay. So we're not. All right. Well, we do have something going on Thursday night.
Oh gosh, that's right. Sorry, Southern modified race. You're right. So okay, I defer.
Okay. So
all right. Now that you've set me straight.
That's right. You got to do that every once in a while. Keep your kids in line. Thursday night for the championship clinching Southern modified tour race, NASCAR Southern. Let me try this again. NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour.
There you go.
For this championship clinching event, their final event of the season, I am going to take none other than one of the home area favorites, Burt Myers, to get the victory in that event on Thursday night. And the Xfinity Series race, I would love to see Regan Smith do it again and get really on a roll, but I don't think he's going to. This is one of those situations where I'm trying to look at the entry list here to see who's in which car for this weekend, and I think Kyle Busch is in the 54, is he not?
I am saying the answer to that question is, I believe yes. Eric Jones is in the 20.
Yeah, he's in the 20. Okay. So I'm going to pick Kyle Busch.
Yeah, well.
But I'm going to tell you that I certainly think that if I were going to pick anybody other than Kyle Busch, I would be picking Austin Dillon. I'm just going on record as saying that I could see Austin sweeping. He won it in the spring. I could see him in the fall, but I'm going to pick
KB. He was good in the spring.
And in the Cup race, this is an interesting scenario because you have Jimmy Johnson at a track that for so long he owned, basically, as a spoiler. And you know that team is going to want redemption for as much as they can have it. They can't win the championship now, but they're going to just be racing for wins. That's a dangerous situation for the rest of the competition when all Jimmy Johnson's got to worry about is winning races, and we're going to Charlotte. So I'm tempted to take the 48 to win, but I'm
you're not gonna.
That's exactly right. I'm not going to, because in my heart, I really believe that what you're going to see on Saturday night is a Joe Gibbs total domination of this event. And so you kind of do eeny, meeny, miny, mo a little bit. Carl's, Denny, Matt, Kyle, which one? I'm going to go with Kyle Busch to sweep the weekend and pick him to win with the 18 car and really establish himself as a force to be reckoned with for the rest of this chase. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the domination that Kevin Harvick put on this week, but I think Kyle Busch gets it done on Saturday night.
All right, fair enough. My turn now. For the modified race on Thursday night, I'm going to double check something here because if I'm right, there's a driver in the field that is owed something. And they haven't released the entry list from today. And I really, really hesitate, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give myself a lifeline just in case they release the entry list tomorrow and he doesn't come south. Ryan Preece, a year ago, did everything right and had a fluke parts failure with about 10 laps to go after leading 142 laps. Didn't win the race. If Ryan Preece is in the field, Ryan Preece will win at Charlotte and get redemption for 2 consecutive wins that have gotten away from him at the quarter-mile bull ring. Now, Tom, if he is not in the field when they release the entry list, my backup is going to be another good pick because he's about to be crowned champion. He comes in with a 10-point lead, and I'm going to say if Preece isn't in the field, Andy Seiss caps off the championship season, 2 championships in a row with a victory. He really has to do something because there's no way he can top last year when he won the title and proposed to his girlfriend and now wife, Jen, in Victory Lane.
Well, yeah, I mean, it isn't Utah, so he can't propose to another. I'm kidding for all of our fans, and it's just a joke. And anyway. He certainly it wouldn't be good news. The only way he could top it is if he announced that they were having a child. That would be the perfect way to sort of one up the situation from last year. But yeah, Andy definitely is going to be a factor. This is for those who aren't familiar with the modified shows at Charlotte. They run them not on the mile and a half, of course. They run them on the quarter mile that is sort of situated on the front stretch. Yeah, and it's the same track that the Legends and the Bandolero cars use for the Bojangles Summer Shootout, and it's a really tight quarter mile. I mean, it's really a bump and run kind of quarter mile. It's very hard to pass. You have to really get a lot of your passing done on restarts. So if there's not many yellows, then once they get single file, it's really hard to run the top. So you kind of move people out of the way when you want to pass them, and it just makes for a very interesting dynamic. Track position's key, so qualifying is going to be a very big deal on Thursday afternoon for these guys because you don't want to be starting in the back. You want to be starting up front where you don't have to work so hard to get to the front. Then you can kind of be a little bit more defensive in the beginning just to let everything kind of get strung out and hope you don't get taken out in a pile up. If you're in the back, then you got to worry about that. So it's Andy's definitely going to be a factor, but Burt Myers
Burt's the defending winner, and he's a 3-time winner at Charlotte.
Yeah. I mean, he knows it, and even that little match race, the Legends car there with Chris Ferguson from the Dirt
and almost won that.
Almost won that. So Burt's just good there. So it'll be fun. That's always a neat deal. They run it after the qualifying, after the pole night. It's called pole night on Thursday. They run the time trials for the Cup race qualifying. And then the modified race, the last thing on the card. So it gets underway, shortly before 9 o'clock or so. And it makes for a very interesting way to cap off qualifying night, pole night, and to kind of get the weekend started, because it's so different from what we then are going to see and watch on Friday and Saturday. It's just a lot of fun.
Indeed it is. Can I get back to my picks now?
Sure can.
Awesome. Okay, so for the Xfinity race, you took Kyle Busch. So I'm going to take the other guy that's the king of Charlotte, and in personal opinion is really, really, really good in the Charlotte fall race. He's won it before. I think if I remember correctly, Brad Keselowski is a 3-time Xfinity winner at Charlotte, and I'm going to check that stat right now.
I don't have it in front of me, but I know he's won it multiple times, so you might be right.
Aha, he's a 3-time Xfinity winner at Charlotte. He won the fall race in 2010. He won the fall race a season ago. So I'm going to take the defending winner to do it again and make it 4 wins at Charlotte in a Penske Xfinity car and say Brad Keselowski will win the race. Though, in my opinion, I'm with you, Tom. You got to keep an eye on Regan Smith. He's on a roll, and that team is dangerous when they get on a roll, kind of like the guy I'm going to pick for the Cup race, because he had to be in a must-win situation this past weekend. He doesn't want to be in a must-win situation again. So I'm going to say that the guy everybody's chasing is the guy everybody's going to keep chasing. Oh, by the way, he won this race a year ago while Matt Kenseth and Brad Keselowski were WWE brawling in the pit area.
Yeah.
I'll take Kevin Harvick to stir the pot a little bit more and win the Cup race once again and be the first driver to punch his ticket into the Eliminator round of 8. How's that for a 3-race slate?
Well, it's going to be interesting to say the least. I mean, all of the picks are solid. Look, I think that Kevin Harvick could very easily go to Charlotte and win. But the Gibbs cars are so strong on the 1.5 miles right now, and they were so good at Charlotte in the spring. I don't expect anything different in this race. It's being run late at night, just like the 600 was in the spring. So the conditions, although
Kevin was good in that race, and keep in mind he was leading at the 500-mile mark in May.
Yeah, he was, but at the end of the day, I just see the Gibbs cars being the strongest here, and I'm still not going to count out Kurt Busch either, because Kurt's a driver that runs really well at Charlotte, and I think that both he and Harvick will be in the mix. This race is such a different kind of race than the spring. The spring's an endurance race, and it's a big holiday weekend, and it's a big to-do, and it's one of the elite races on the Cup schedule. It's the longest race that they run, so you have to be careful with making too many comparisons between that race and this one, because this one's obviously a much shorter race. It's in the chase in the second round, so it starts off a round of 3. It's a whole different mentality.
Hey, if Clint Boyer can win the fall race at Charlotte.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen this year. But
hey, speaking of whom, Clint Boyer's going to H. Scott Motorsports in 2016.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't know that, but hey.
I was going to say the other worst kept secret in the garage area, besides Elliott Sadler going to Junior Motorsports, we were just all waiting for it to be official. Clint Boyer. I don't know if we know what car number, and we certainly don't know what Justin Allgaier's future is. I thought it was interesting, though, that Justin said that he's got several options in more than one series for next year. So we're going to have to keep our eye on this, because, you and I have speculated about the possibility of him reuniting with Penske for an Xfinity Series effort with Brandt. I would not be surprised if there weren't still a couple of Cup teams that
Richard Petty,
Petty, the 9 car, or a Tommy Baldwin, somebody that, because, well, not instead of, but in addition to, he comes with a sponsor, so that's definitely going to bear watching, and maybe even the Truck Series. Who the heck knows?
Yeah, who knows? Justin, that's about the only place Justin hasn't popped up yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to throw a checkered flag, though, on this edition of Motorsports Madness and get ready to bow out, say goodnight. But as always, Tom, it's been a whole lot of fun. We get to do it again a week from tonight, break down Charlotte, and have a whole lot of fun at that after NASCAR's been in our backyard.
I
want to thank
Charlotte Thursday night.
Yes, live from Charlotte Thursday night on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Right now, though, want to say thanks to Kyle Magda and Steve Ovens for helping us out here at the round table tonight. And as always, thank Big Mike and all our partners at the Performance Motorsports Network who helped make this show possible. So for Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Steve Ovens, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding all you race fans out there, keep it off the wall, my friends, until we meet again. And hey, if you're going to be at Charlotte this weekend, we'll see you at the racetrack. Have a safe racing weekend. We'll be back next Monday. Good night.
You've been listening to Motorsports Madness with the Speed 77 Radio Race Chaser Online crew. Stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network for more race talk. For the latest motorsports news, visit racechaseronline.com. Motorsports Madness is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week when the madness returns on Monday night at 7 Eastern. Until then, keep it off the wall and keep the shiny side up.